everyone, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, I am Carly. If you are not new here, thank you so much for coming back and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Before we get started, go ahead and remember to like this video and subscribe. I really appreciate your guys' support, and I'm really excited for what is to come. I'm going to kind of do this mini-series along with my Impress Yourself, and just to help give out knowledge and help give out information, because I feel like so often when I work with my clients, the first questions I ask, are the baseline questions, and oftentimes the knowledge just isn't there. One thing I've been very fortunate about with my coach is that he's very involved with helping us learn. I'm not just a robot, if that makes any sense. So he helps me learn, he helps me understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so with this new series, I just launched my 12-week training guide that you guys can get at YBBY Fitness if you're interested. But my main goal with everything is to help give out as much knowledge as possible and help everybody learn. One thing I really want to do is educate others, and I feel like if I go back to the very beginning of my journey, I just had no idea what the heck I was doing or where to even begin. So today's not going to be a long video. I just want to kind of break down from the very beginning. And the very beginning is what is a macronutrient, in my opinion. So I'm sure you hear a lot about macros and tracking macros and IFYM, or if it fits your macros, or flexible dieting, which we'll get into all those down the road. But bottom line is, what is a macro? It doesn't really matter what kind of a diet you're doing or a lifestyle you're on. We all are consuming macros daily. So we have our three main macronutrients. So we have our carbs, our fats, and our proteins. So that makes up all the calories that we consume in a day. And one thing I want you to try and start to think about your calories and your consumption is fuel. Like, our food is our fuel. When I talk to my clients, I love to ask them if they know what their macronutrient breakdown is, or if they track their macros. And that just helps me know kind of where their headspace is at. Oftentimes I get back the answers of, well, I track my calories, or all of that. So it's just kind of a baseline. So today we're going to talk about the three: carbs, fats, and proteins. So those are our three energy sources, okay? So that is how we receive our calories. And so our carbs are very, very essential for our energy. I know oftentimes we think of restricting our carbs and it'll help us lose weight, and that is the truth in a certain circumstance, but restricting for too long can be detrimental to our overall body composition, our health, everything. So carbs are an energy source, and so when we consume our carbs, it's basically replenishing our body, telling our body that we're going to be getting this energy, which allows our body to then use the protein that we're eating for our muscles. So if we are restricting our carbs, oftentimes our body will use our protein as an energy source, and that's not what we want. We want our protein to be feeding our muscles. Obviously, this is different if you go into the keto diet, where your fats are very high, so you're primarily using your fats as an energy source. But again, that is very advanced. That's down the road. We're just going to keep it basic. So carbs are an energy source. We want to look at it as something that fuels our body, fuels our workout, helps us live basically, and function optimally. Then we have our fats. So our fats are another energy source. They are a great energy source at that, but they definitely, so as I said, I don't know if I've already said, so a carb has, per 1 gram of a carb, there's 4 calories, and then per 1 gram of fat, there's 9 calories. So right there you can tell it's going to take our body longer to digest the fats than it will the carbs. And so for our fats, it's very important when we do eat our fats, to eat it at a time when you have, plenty of time to digest and all of that, because it takes our body longer to digest the fats than it does for a carb, because obviously with it having more energy, 9 calories per gram versus 4 calories per gram, it's going to take our body a little bit longer to digest the fats. So personally, I like to eat my fats. I have fats right first thing in the morning because I don't work out until later in the afternoon. And so again, we'll get into that further down the road with timing of all of the food and whatnot. But the biggest question I get asked is, what the heck is a macro? So you have your carbs, an energy source. You have your fats, another energy source. They help you stay fuller longer. And then you have your proteins, which are essential on so many levels. So proteins help our muscle tissue. It helps repair our muscle tissue. It helps us grow. It helps our hormone balances, everything. And so it's very important to have protein at every single meal. I usually recommend to my clients to have at least 20 grams of protein per meal. Again, my clients are usually eating between 4 and 5 meals a day, and so that ends up being upwards of around 100 grams of protein a day. It'll depend on your goals for what your protein should be at. And again, we'll get to that in the next video when I talk about how to track your macros. But I do think it's vital that you understand what a macro is before you get into how to track your macros. So what I would like for everybody to do over the course of this next week, before I launch the next video, is to, or if you're even interested in tracking your macros, what I would first recommend doing is for 1 week, I don't care what you eat, when you eat, why you're eating it, if you track it, I recommend to track it in MyFitnessPal. It's super easy. You can literally type in Cinnabon or cereal or whatever it is, or you can scan the box that you're eating or whatnot, and just track to see over the course of this next week what your calorie consumption is and kind of where your macronutrient breakdown is at. It'll give you percentages in the app, which is really helpful. It's just nice to know what are we consuming in the day. I know before I got working with a coach, before I got into bodybuilding, I was primarily just eating protein, which is good in a sense, but I wasn't giving my body any energy. I wasn't giving it any fats. I wasn't giving it any carbs. And so my body was breaking down my own muscle to basically give itself energy, which is not what we want. So take a week. I always recommend 5 to 7 days, whatever you eat normally. Don't try and clean it up necessarily. What do you eat normally? And then try and see if your body lost weight, maintained, or gained weight. Over that whole week, you'll kind of get an average of what your calorie consumption was, and from there, that's when it's important to then break down your macronutrient and figure out how would you start tracking your macros for your goals specifically. So again, just to kind of sum this all up, it's a short video. I just want to talk about what the heck is a macro. So you have your carbs, your fats, and your proteins. So those make up our macronutrients. Your carbs and your proteins, both per 1 gram, have 4 calories. Per 1 gram of fat, there are 9 calories. This does not mean stay away from your fats. It just means that you are going to need less grams to reach that daily goal. But yes, track for the next 5 to 7 days what you consume in terms of what you put into your mouth. Everything. Your coffees, your sweeteners, your sauces, all of that. Don't be too crazy in terms of weighing things out if that's not your goal at the moment, but that this will help us to then decide for you to figure out how to track your macros. So I just wanted to leave you guys with that, a little bit of knowledge. Look at your food as fuel. Look at it as energy, and just try and have a better relationship with it. It is so hard, but sometimes learning the basics and learning from the very beginning helps out with that. So I hope you learned something today. I'm really excited for the next video. We are going to talk about how to track your macros. So if you're going to tune into that, make sure to track your intake for the next 5 to 7 days, so that in the next video you'll be ready to get to your own macros and you can do it on your own. I'm also going to attach some calculators down below, which I will talk about in the next video, for you to try and track your own macros, but I oftentimes recommend first doing this 5 to 7 days just so that you are knowing your consumption. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. I love you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow me on Instagram, and I love you all. I'll see you in the next one.